It started with the sound, a low, rhythmic hum that was always there, just beneath the rumble of the engine, a sound like 1,000 distant whispers being ground to dust. I hear it now, even sitting here, miles away, a ghost in my skull. It's a constant reminder of the road I once drove, a road that wasn't just asphalt and dust, but something else entirely. The rules, they weren't for me. They were for the road itself, a desperate pact we made, a silent agreement that was broken long before I ever got in the cab. But that's how it always is, isn't it? The braking starts with a whisper, then a crack, and finally a scream. The first rule they told me was simple enough. Never, ever deviate from the convoy. But the one they didn't tell me, the one I learned all on my own, was this. If you see a figure on the side of the road, and it's facing away from you, you have to keep driving and pretend you didn't see it. Because the moment you acknowledge it, the moment your brain even registers its presence, it knows. And the worst part? It doesn't just show up on your road anymore. It shows up on the roads inside your head. Pause. The road is still out there, stretching on forever, and a part of me is still driving on it. I just don't know if I'll ever be able to get off. The ad was simple enough, a small, faded block of text in the back of a regional trucking magazine. Nevada convoy driver. Long haul, overnight route. Good pay. Discretion required. The number was just a burner phone, and when I called, a raspy voice on the other end gave me a set of coordinates and a time. No name, no company, just a place to be. I was desperate. The last gig had fallen through, and I was on the verge of losing my rig. The Nevada desert, in the dead of summer, seemed as good a place as any to disappear for a while that I pulled my rusty old Freightliner into a forgotten truck stop on the outskirts of Tonopah, just as the sun was dipping below the horizon, painting the sky in violent shades of orange and purple. The air was thick with the smell of diesel and dust, a scent that I've come to associate with a creeping sense of dread. There were no other trucks, just a lone diner with a flickering neon sign, and a few pumps that looked like they hadn't been used in a decade. A beat-up Ford pickup was parked next to the diner, and a man in a greasy baseball cap was leaning against it, smoking a cigarette. He looked up as I approached, his eyes hidden behind a pair of sunglasses despite the fading light. "You the driver?" he asked, his voice low and gravelly, the sound of years of cigarettes and whiskey. I nodded. He didn't introduce himself. He just handed me a folded piece of paper. "Your route, your payload, your rules. Don't open it until you're on the road." He gestured to the back of the lot. "Your convoy." I looked over and my blood ran cold. There were 5 other trucks, all identical, blacked-out behemoths that looked like they belonged in a sci-fi movie. They were sleek and modern, with no visible logos or markings, just a single, glowing red light on the dashboard of each one. They weren't running, but the air around them felt charged. A low hum, the same one I'd heard on the phone, vibrated in the air. The man in the cap told me to just follow the lead truck. If they stop, you stop. If they go, you go. No exceptions. He got into his pickup and drove off without another word, leaving me alone with the silent, monolithic machines. Getting into my truck, I felt a tremor of apprehension. The paper in my pocket felt heavy, like a lead weight. I started my engine. The familiar roar of comfort in the unnatural stillness of the lot. The lead truck's taillights flickered on, a deep, unsettling red. I pulled out, falling in line behind the other rigs. The convoy moved as one, a procession of shadows against the bruised twilight sky. The air grew colder as we drove, and the low hum in the air intensified. The road ahead was a straight, black ribbon stretching into the darkness. There were no other cars, no streetlights, nothing but the silent desert on either side that I felt. A strange compulsion to check the paper he'd given me, and as soon as I unfolded it, I regretted it. The paper wasn't just a piece of paper, it was a list of rules. I glanced at the first one, my eyes wide. Rule 1. Never look at the lead truck's headlights directly. They are not what they seem. I looked up, and in my rearview mirror, the lead truck's headlights weren't headlights at all. They were 2 glowing red orbs, like a predator's eyes, staring back at me from the darkness. My foot trembled on the gas pedal. I knew then that this wasn't just a job. This was a pact, and I was already in too deep. The hum in my ears was getting louder, and the road ahead felt like it was swallowing us whole. I was just a ghost in a steel coffin, driving a convoy of shadows, and the night had just begun. The first few nights were uneventful, or at least as uneventful as a drive through a desert convoy of strange, silent trucks could be. We drove from sundown to sunrise, a silent procession of ghosts on the asphalt. The landscape was desolate, vast stretches of nothing but scrub brush and rock. The air was dry and smelled of ozone, a constant, low-level static charge that seemed to permeate everything. I kept the paper folded in my pocket, afraid to look at the rules again. The memory of the lead truck's headlights, or whatever they were, was burned into my mind. I couldn't shake the feeling that they were looking at me, not just ahead. Then the whispers started. I first heard them on the third night. A faint, unintelligible murmur coming from my radio. I thought it was static, a frequency I hadn't tuned out. But then, as I listened closer, I realized it wasn't static. It was a language, a series of clicks and soft guttural noises, something that sounded older than human. It was a new sound, to add to the constant hum, and it was unnerving. I tried to change the station, but the radio was dead. The screen was a black void. Yet, the whispers continued, a constant, low-level babble that felt like it was coming from inside my own head. One night, I saw something in my side mirror. A flicker of movement in the desert, just on the edge of my vision. I swiveled my head, but there was nothing, just the endless, dark landscape. I kept driving, my heart hammering against my ribs. A few minutes later, I saw it again. A long, thin shadow moving parallel to the convoy. It didn't look like an animal. It looked like a person, but impossibly tall and thin, like a stick figure drawn by a child. It was moving too fast, impossibly fast, keeping pace with my truck. I looked ahead, saw the other trucks, their glowing red lights a comfort in the darkness. I was part of a chain, and as long as I stayed in it, I told myself I was safe. But the most unsettling incident happened a week in. We stopped for our nightly break, a strange ritual where the entire convoy would pull off the road and sit in perfect silence for 30 minutes. No one ever got out. No one ever spoke. We just sat there, engines off, the silence broken only by the chirping of crickets and the distant, unholy howl of a coyote. I was sitting in my cab, trying to eat a stale sandwich, when I saw a figure standing in the middle of the road. It was a man, dressed in old-fashioned clothes, with a wide-brimmed hat. He wasn't moving. He was just standing there, facing us. He wasn't a shadow or a trick of the light. He was solid. I felt a cold knot of dread tighten in my stomach. The whispers on the radio intensified, a frantic chattering. I knew I shouldn't look, but I couldn't help myself. I stared at him, and as I did, he slowly, deliberately, raised his arm and pointed a long, skeletal finger directly at me. My blood ran cold. The air in my cab dropped 10 degrees. The hum in the air intensified to a deafening roar. My headlights, which I had turned off, suddenly flickered on, a deep, blood-red light illuminating the man. I could see his face then, a gaunt, empty mask of a face with two black holes for eyes. He wasn't looking at my truck. He was looking at me, and in the black voids of his eyes, I saw something moving, something small and squirming, like 1,000 maggots. Pause. I slammed my eyes shut, my heart pounding so hard I thought it would burst. The car's interior was filled with a high-pitched ringing sound. When I opened them again, he was gone. Just a long, empty stretch of road. The convoy started moving again, and I followed, my hands trembling on the steering wheel, a new understanding dawning on me. This wasn't just a job. This was a nightmare, and I was just learning the rules that I couldn't ignore the rules anymore. After that night, the list of rules felt less like a strange set of instructions and more like a lifeline. I pulled over to the side of the road, away from the other trucks, and took out the folded paper. The paper felt different now, no longer just a piece of paper, but something heavier, denser, like a piece of my own sanity. I unfolded it, and the list seemed to stretch on forever, a testament to the strange, impossible reality I was now a part of. The rules were numbered, and each one seemed to demand more and more of me. I had to learn them. I had to internalize them. I had to become them. Rule 1. Never look directly at the lead truck's headlights. They are not headlights. They are the eyes of the convoy. If you meet their gaze, they will see into your soul, and you will become part of the road forever. I remembered the glowing red orbs from my first night. I had just barely followed this rule, and I could feel a cold sweat break out on my forehead. Rule 2. Do not look at the figures on the side of the road if they are facing away from you. This is their way of pretending they are not there. Acknowledging them will invite their gaze, and they will follow you, not on the road, but in your thoughts. You will never be alone again. This rule explained the tall, impossibly thin figure I'd seen. I had done the right thing by not acknowledging it. My heart pounded with the realization of what could have happened. Rule 3. If you stop and see a figure standing in the middle of the road, do not look directly into its eyes. They are not eyes. They are windows. If you look into them, something will look back, and you will see things you can never unsee. This rule was the one I'd broken. The black holes, the squirming maggots, the pure, unadulterated terror. The ringing in my ears was a constant reminder of what I had seen. Rule 4. Do not listen to the radio. The whispers are not static. They are the voices of those who have broken the rules. They are trying to warn you, but they can only speak in a language you cannot understand. Listening too closely will cause you to start speaking their language, and you will no longer be able to communicate with the world you left behind. The constant babbling on my dead radio now made sense. I had been trying to tune it out, but I hadn't known why. Now I did. Rule 5. The convoy stops for exactly 30 minutes. Do not get out of your truck. Do not open your door. Do not turn off your engine. The silence is a test. The longer you sit in it, the more the road will try to pull you into its embrace. Turning off your engine will give it the opening it needs. That I had been following this rule without knowing the reason. The silence was a living thing, a palpable entity that had been trying to get at me. Rule 6. Never deviate from the convoy. If you fall behind, they will not wait for you. If you get ahead, they will not follow. You are a part of the chain, and to break it is to break yourself. The road will reclaim you, and you will become one of the shadows that line its edges. This one was the first rule I was given, the one that kept me tethered to this nightmare. Rule 7. The glowing red light on your dashboard is a link to the convoy. Do not touch it. Do not cover it. Do not attempt to disconnect it. It is your lifeline, your only connection to this reality. If you sever it, you will sever yourself from the world you know. You will be alone on a road that stretches into nothingness. Forever. I looked at the light, a small, unassuming red dot on my dashboard. It now felt like the most important thing in the universe. It was a tiny beacon of hope in a sea of darkness. Rule 8. Do not look at your reflection in the side mirror for more than 3 seconds. The road will distort it, and what you see will not be you. It will be the person you are becoming, the person the road wants you to be. It will smile, and its teeth will be sharp, and its eyes will be emptied. I had been doing a quick check of my mirrors, but I had never stared. I realized now that the fleeting glimpse of the tall, thin figure might not have been a figure at all, but a reflection of what was to come. Rule 9. If you hear a knock on your window, do not look. Do not acknowledge it. The road is lonely, and it wants company. The knocking is a hand trying to find a home. Acknowledging it will give it an opening, and it will climb into your cab, and it will be with you always. The list was long and terrifying, and as I read each rule, a new understanding of my situation dawned on me. I was not just a driver. I was a guardian, a keeper of a terrible secret, a prisoner on a road that never ended. And I was already breaking the rules, one by one, without even knowing it. The rules weren't a way to stay safe. They were a way to keep the monster at bay, a monster that was already starting to gnaw at the edges of my sanity. The rules were my Bible now. I taped the paper to my dashboard, a constant reminder of the thin line I walked between sanity and a fate far worse than death. But knowing the rules and following them were two different things. The first time I broke one, it was a small, almost imperceptible lapse. We were driving through a stretch of road so dark it felt like a tunnel, the stars swallowed by a thick, oppressive blanket of clouds. The hum was particularly loud that night, a deep, resonant thrum that seemed to vibrate in my bones. My eyes were heavy, and I felt the creeping tendrils of sleep reaching for me. I blinked hard, trying to stay awake, and in my momentary lapse, I glanced at the lead truck. The red orbs were there, two silent, predatory eyes staring back. I had only looked for a second, but it was enough. I felt a cold, invasive feeling, like a whisper in my mind. A single, fleeting thought that wasn't my own. A memory of a place I'd never been, a person I'd never met. It was a flash of something alien and wrong, and then it was gone. but it left a residue, a cold, empty feeling in the pit of my stomach. I had broken a rule, and the road had taken a piece of me. The consequence was subtle, but terrifying. I now had a ghost of a memory that wasn't mine, a splinter of a foreign reality lodged in my brain. The second breach was worse. We were on one of our silent stops, and I was trying to eat a sandwich, my hands trembling. The whispers on the radio were louder than ever, a frantic, desperate chorus. I knew I wasn't supposed to listen, but a morbid curiosity, a desire to understand, took hold of me. I leaned closer to the radio, trying to decipher the strange, guttural language. As I did, the whispers coalesced into something coherent. Not a language I understood, but a sound I recognized. It was my name. Not just my name, but my name whispered in 1,000 different voices, a chorus of tormented souls, all calling my name. The sound was a physical thing, a needle-thin spear of ice that shot through my ear and into my brain. I recoiled, yanking my head away from the speaker, a scream caught in my throat. But the sound didn't stop. It was in my head now, a constant, low-level buzz of my name being whispered, a new, permanent layer of sound on top of the hum and the whispers. It was a consequence that I couldn't escape, a constant reminder of my failure. I was becoming a part of the road, one rule break at a time. The line between myself and the nightmare was blurring, and I could feel my own identity slipping away. The third time, the consequences were far more immediate and terrifying. I was driving, my hands white-knuckled on the steering wheel, trying to keep my eyes on the road and my mind off the whispers in my head. I looked at my side mirror to check on the truck behind me, and I stared for a second too long. In the fleeting glimpse I caught of my own reflection, something was wrong. My face was pale and drawn, my eyes wide with fear, but my mouth was stretched into a wide, unnatural smile. The teeth in the reflection were sharp, jagged points, like a predator's. It was a brief, horrifying moment, and then it was gone, replaced by my normal reflection. But the image was burned into my mind. The reflection hadn't just been a reflection. It had been a warning. The person I was becoming was not me. It was something else entirely, something hollow and hungry. I was losing myself to the road, a slow, agonizing process of erasure. I was a ghost in a machine, and the machine was driving me toward a destination I didn't want to reach. The rules were no longer just a list. They were a part of me, a second nature. But even with my newfound vigilance, the road was getting bolder, the rules more difficult to follow. The first major escalation happened during a stretch of road that was supposed to be a straight line. I was following the convoy, the glowing red light on my dashboard a steady, unwavering beacon. Suddenly, the lead truck's taillights disappeared. Not like it drove away, but like it had simply been erased from existence. I slammed on my brakes, the screech of my tires the only sound in the suffocating silence. The trucks behind me stopped as well, a chain of phantom vehicles in the middle. Of nowhere, the road ahead was gone. Not metaphorically gone, but physically gone. It was just a black void, a yawning chasm of nothingness. My headlights didn't illuminate it, they were swallowed by it, the light simply ceasing to exist at the edge of the asphalt. A cold, unnatural wind blew from the void, carrying with it a faint, sweet smell like rotting flowers. I looked at the convoy, and I saw that the red lights on their dashboards were flickering like a dying heartbeat. I knew what this was. The road was testing us, a test to see if we would break the cardinal rule. Never deviate. I sat there, my heart pounding, a cold sweat beating on my forehead. The wind from the void was getting stronger, a low moan that seemed to be saying my name. I felt a compelling urge to turn back, to escape this impossible situation, to break the chain. But I knew what would happen if I did. I would become one of the shadows, a forgotten soul on a road that didn't exist. I had to wait. I had to have faith in the unspoken rules of this unholy pact. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and waited. Pause. After what felt like an eternity, the void ahead of me began to ripple like a disturbed pool of water. The road reappeared, a perfect, seamless line of asphalt stretching into the darkness. The lead truck's taillights flickered back on, and the convoy started moving. I followed, my hands trembling, my faith in the rules solidified by the terrifying experience. The next escalation was more personal. We were driving through a narrow canyon. The the walls of rock on either side a black, oppressive presence. The hum was a cacophony, a million voices screaming in a language I was beginning to understand. I looked at the red light on my dashboard, my lifeline, and I saw that it was pulsing, a frantic, erratic beat. Then, I heard a knock. Not on my window, but on my cab door. A sharp, insistent rap that was impossible to ignore. I knew it was a test. I knew I couldn't look. But the knocking was persistent, and it was followed by a soft, feminine voice, speaking my name, begging me to open the door. The voice was so familiar, so loving. It sounded just like my wife that a wave of grief and longing washed over me. I hadn't seen her in months, not since I took this cursed job. The thought of her, her face, her voice, was a torment I couldn't bear. The voice called my name again, this time with a sob. My hand, as if of its own volition, reached for the door handle. I had to see her. I had to know if she was real. I had to break the rule. Just as my fingers closed around the cold metal, a new sound cut through the air. A low, guttural growl, not from outside, but from inside my own cab. I looked down, and I saw that the red light on my dashboard had turned into a gaping maw of a mouth, with 1,000 tiny, needle-sharp teeth. It was growling at the door, a low, menacing warning. The light was my guardian, my silent protector, the only thing keeping me safe from the horrors of the road. I pulled my hand back, my heart pounding, and the knocking stopped. The voice was gone. The red light returned to a steady glow. The road was a living thing, and it was playing with me, preying on my weaknesses. It was trying to break me, one rule at a time. And I was starting to realize that the rules weren't just for the road. They were for me. They were a cage, and I was trapped inside. The final escalation began with a shift in the road itself. The familiar asphalt turned to a viscous, black liquid, a substance that looked like tar but moved like water. The trucks ahead of me didn't seem to notice, their tires churning through the black goo as if it were solid ground. My own truck followed, the engine whining in protest. The hum was gone, replaced by a low, sloshing sound, the sound of 1,000 gallons of oil being stirred in a cauldron. The air smelled of gasoline and something else, something metallic and sickly sweet. The convoy came to a stop in the middle of this impossible road. The red lights on their dashboards were a steady, hypnotic pulse. The silence was absolute, a perfect vacuum. I looked at my own red light, my guardian, and I saw that it was glowing brighter than ever. I knew what this was. This was the final test. The road was a living, breathing entity, and it was now offering me a choice. I could stay in the convoy, a silent prisoner on a road to nowhere, or I could leave and be freed. I heard a new sound, a sound I hadn't heard before. It was a voice, a calm, reassuring voice that was speaking in my own language. You can get out now. The road has accepted you. The rules are gone. It was the voice of the man from the beginning, the man who had given me the paper. You have followed the rules. You have survived. You are free. I looked at my red light, and it seemed to pulse with a question. The voice was offering me freedom, a chance to escape this nightmare. But the rules, I had come to rely on them. They were a part of me now. I looked at the black liquid road, and I knew that if I stepped out of my truck, I wouldn't be stepping onto solid ground. I would be stepping into the void. I looked at my rearview mirror, and I saw my reflection. It wasn't the grinning monster with the sharp teeth. It was me, but my eyes were different. They were empty, hollow, just like the man in the road's eyes had been. The whispers on the radio coalesced into a single, terrifying truth. He is one of us now. He is part of the road. His soul is ours. The man from the beginning, the one who gave me the rules, he wasn't a guardian. He was a keeper. He was a part of the road, and he was trying to lure me out, to make me a part of it too. The rules weren't a shield, they were a contract. And I was about to sign the final clause. That I looked at the red light, and I knew what I had to do. I couldn't trust the voice. I couldn't trust the promise of freedom. My only hope was the chain, the convoy. I kept my foot on the brake, my hands tied on the wheel. I will not get out, I whispered. I will not break the rules. And as I said it, the black liquid road began to churn, to writhe, as if in protest. The voice in my head screamed, a sound of pure, unadulterated rage. And then, the road was gone, replaced by the familiar asphalt. The hum was back, and the convoy started moving. That I was safe. I had survived. But as I drove, a new realization dawned on me. The man from the beginning, the one who gave me the rules, was a reflection of me, a ghost of a man who had already been taken by the road. The black-eyed man in the road, the grinning monster in my mirror, the whispers in my radio. They were all parts of me now. I was a part of the road, a ghost in a machine. My journey was over. My purpose was fulfilled. I was no longer a driver. I was a keeper, and I was waiting for the next driver, the next victim, the next soul to be swallowed by the road. And I knew that when they came, I would give them the rules, and I would tell them the lie that had kept me alive, the lie that had sealed my fate. The rules will keep you safe. Slow, tense tone, because the road never. Let's go.